Hey guys, YDCB here with some more Summoners War action, and today is work day, some overdue work. A lot of people have been asking me, hey, what about the runes for this month? You haven't done a video on that yet, so here we are, YDCB runes for the month of June, near the end of June anyway. So I'll be going through the runes of units that I commonly use, things that I don't really use, like you see Sigmar's here, I don't really use anymore. Lumi, I don't use anymore, so I won't even go through them. So I'll just go through the stuff that I usually see in videos. So we're gonna start off with Praa. Nothing much has changed for Praa. For me, she's still a tanky burst healer that, you know, is disruptive in the sense that I run her Despair Revenge. This is actually a build, like some people will say, hey, this build is like 2015. I still use it because I like it. I don't like the Nemesis you know, the Will Nemesis build. That was pretty much an anti-illusion. I might go Despair Will, but I'm not keen on the Nemesis Will build. I mean, it's just pretty much arena defense. That's all there is. If you put it on Despair something, Despair Will, Despair Revenge, it's better than Guild Wars. And to be honest, that's where most of my, you know, focus is. Okay, so she's on Despair Revenge. I'm just gonna quickly go through the runes first. She's on HP. Yes. The reason she's on HP, actually, it doesn't matter. You can go speed, crit rate, HP, speed, HP. You know, it's all up to you. It's about the stats that you want to get, right? So I'm just gonna quickly go through, you know, the runes, like, so you can get a rough idea of, you know, what the stats are on each rune roughly. You can pause if you want, but that's not important. What's important is that I wanted to reach something near the 40,000 HP. Okay, and I wanted to have more than 1,000 defense, you know, because I use her as a raid frontliner, and I needed her to have at least 200 speed. I'm working on getting her even more speed because there are a couple of runes that could use some speed upgrades. I'm looking at a sweet spot somewhere at around 250. Maybe to attain that, I might have to swap out slot 2 for speed with HP substats. Right? I'm looking at around 250 speed. That's where I think I would stop giving more speed to Praa. Alright? And resistance is also important. So what I'm gonna do here today, I'm gonna explain, I'm not only gonna show you what type of rune builds that I use, but I'm gonna roughly give you an explanation of why I rune that, or why I would like to rune it that way. Because some of the monsters I don't have the runes yet, right? So Verat currently, these are his stats. Not too fast. He's at 90, 147, not a lot of crit rate, not a lot of crit damage, not a lot of defense as well, because he's currently on a Violent Will build, right? Because I'm testing him out on Guild War defense this week. I'm not sure how it will pan out. His runes are not even optimal. They're like sort of, what I would say, half past 6, not the best kind of runes. But I just wanted to see how it would fare as Violent, because I gave him a lot of skill ups. I actually gave him max skill for the absolute 0, and it's just one more Devilmon away from maxing Snowstorm. So I don't know how he would fare on Violent. So I will give the rest of the week to test this build up, right? For Nuker build for Verat, you would want to go something like a Rage, Will, Defense, Crit Damage, Defense, Speed, Crit Damage, Defense, depending on the lineup you're running. If, for example, you're running in the Necessity lineup, then of course you don't need Speed on slot 2. If you're running a non-necessity lineup, then you would need speed on slot 2, right? Depending on the lineup that you are running. Gallion, I have 2 Gallions. This is the more commonly used one, the crit rate one. All right. So 97 accuracy. I mean, you don't need more than 85. That's what the theory crafters say, and I think for the most part it is pretty true. And some people actually even go further and say, actually, you know, the most accuracy you need is only around 59%. I'm not sure where that theory comes from, but quite a lot of people are you know, stand by it. So believe what you believe. Personally, I see no how should I put it, Gallion is there for a reason. Time to fucking loot. Alright, if I have to rune 120% just to make sure time to loot lands, I do it. Right, there's no harm in getting more, because personally, like, he's just there to do time to loot and do some damage. That's why I give him crit rate. Okay. The speed of Gallion doesn't matter. The speed of Gallion, there is no fixed amount of speed. There is no benchmark speed. The speed of Gallion depends on the speed of your team that you're using him with. Mine is at 186 because I believe Teor is like 1 speed below him or something like that. Okay, so that is just how I rune my Gallion. Personally, I mean, for you, just rune him according, just make him faster than Nuker. Simple as that. You don't want him too fast, so that, you know, too much faster than Nuker, because things will cut in between. Just make him 1 speed faster than Nuker, ideally, alright? So I'm just gonna quickly go through his runes. This is on speed, crit rate, accuracy, okay? The 135 don't really matter, it's just there. The 135 are just there to make sure he gets this amount of speed that I need him to get. Theomars, not too fast, not too much crit damage as well. I kind of neglected Theomars, and you know, over the last ever since Theomars came out, I gave him this set of runes. It's stuck with him. I never upgraded his runes because, you know, I don't use him that much because he's not so fun. Right? He's too safe, and life's not like, you know, it's not interesting when you use it. So anyway, he's on speed, crit damage, attack 1, 3, and 5. Slot 1, slot 4, slot 5 all have above 20% attack. Alright, because if you want to run speed, crit damage, attack, you know, you sort of want to give him more attack as well on substats as much as possible, so that at least the second skill, you know, it's able. For example, if you hit an enemy Theomars and you don't have attack buff, but your first hit armor breaks, likely you're gonna kill that Theomars. Why I go Violent Will? Because I think Will runes is like pretty much a must on Theomars. Otherwise, you're looking to get Oblivion on turn 1. Sure, someone can bring a Tiana, but if, hey, there are counters for everything. Megan Swift Will, I don't see another build for it. Maybe Despair Will, but Will Offset is a must because Leo's, right? And she counters Leo if you got Will Offset, because Leo attacks her, doesn't reduce attack bar, she gives attack bar to the team, that you already win. Right, you with attack bar manipulation, you pretty much already win the Leo comp. Beth is currently on Violent Blade. I just use her sometimes in Necro, sometimes, actually mostly in Necro. I don't really use her elsewhere. She's on like the, I don't know, the 5th Violent set that I have. Not the best, even 5-star runes here and there, but she's good for World Boss because she's max skill. Kind of regret all the devil mons into her. Maybe she gets another buff soon, I don't know. Orion, Violent Will is the best build. I'm not even going to look at my rules because my rules aren't ideal. Even my stats are shit, alright? Pretty much you want speed, HP, accuracy, Orion. Violent Will. Plus 150 speed to be competitive, at least. That's what I feel. Violent Will plus 150. That's like ideal. Work towards that. I mean, I don't use Orion because I put all my fastest runes on Bernard, and I don't have fast enough violent runes to make him plus 150. That's why, even though max skill, okay, he's untouched. You never see him in use at all. But stats, these stats, Raid front line R5, no problem, never ever dies. Pretty much never dies. She could use a little more speed, and she's on a weird build like Revenge, Endure. Like, Violent Revenge would obviously be better, but I don't have that many, you know, violent runes to pass around, so I have her on Revenge, Endure. She works fine in Raid Frontline. Chandra is currently on a HP crit damage HP build. He works, you know, in many different builds. You can go triple HP, you can go speed HP. They all work and serve their purpose. I just use him as sort of a water damage dealer when I'm running a Verat kind of comp, and crit damage actually does more damage than running triple HP. Alright, I've tested this pretty much, and if you want more damage, maybe 3000 more on Trick of Water, then you go crit damage. If not, I mean, HP is the all-round safe build because you're a lot tankier, you have more HP to work around with, and you deal only about 2,000 to 3,000 less damage, which is not, I would say, not so game-changing. I have him on Violent Shield. Ideally, you want him on Violent Will. The reason he's on Violent Shield because, you know, there's like, this one's a pretty decent rune with HP, speed, and 15 crit rate, pretty decent. And there's one here with 21 HP and 20 crit rate. That's why he's on Violent Shield. Ideally, it will be Violent Will. This is my slow Gallion. Ideally he should be on a, how should I put this, Will double shield, but I have him on Will focus because I'm lacking slot 2 and slot 6 shield runes. Okay, that's the reason. That's why he's on Will focus. And these do look like a pair of tits, don't they? They do look, and there's like a skirt and the head and the leg, you know, whatever. Tear, Fatal Blade, you can rune Swift Blade, Rage Blade, Fatal Blade, even Violent, or even Violent Will, whatever. But personally, I feel you don't need Will Runes. I took out Will Runes from my Shan as well, because why do I need Will Runes when I'm getting turn 1? You get what I'm saying? Unless I'm putting him on defense, on a slower team that doesn't have like a Bernard, then of course then you go Will Runes, right? If you're not getting turn 1, you get Will Runes. If you know you're getting turn 1, no sense going Will Runes, because I never use Taylor on defense, right? So there's no sense going Will Runes. If I use him on offense, he's going first. Okay, so max crit rate, I feel this is how you want to rune any of the Squall Chimeras. You want to first rune for max crit rate, having a slot for crit damage. Okay, first rune for max crit rate, then you go for speed and attack and crit damage. Alright, wherever you can get. So personally, mine is on a speed, crit damage, attack build. Try to get speed substance wherever you can. Try to get, like, this is a shitty rune, needs to be replaced, but I haven't been farming enough giants. Like this one could use attack substat here, and it's a 5-star rune only. P-Sama, usually he's there for the speed leader and some decent damage, as well as the, you know, the pseudo reset that he gives 80% chance to reset. Not super reliable, really. I rune him Despair because I think he works better at Despair. Like if he dies, he comes back, he gets a chance to stun some people. And Nemesis, because if he dies, he comes back. Nemesis actually gives him more attack power when he comes back. That's just how it works. Despair Will would also be a very good build. These are the common builds out there. I don't think the other builds are that good. Maybe Violent. I don't think that Vampire, you know, is effective at all. So mine is on attack, crit damage, attack. He needs more speed. Mine is only at plus 32. He needs another 30 speed. But I'm not farming enough giants to give him another 30 speed, because at this speed he can't follow up. For example, if I run a P-Sama, a Gallion, Tayor, Bernard team, what happens? The Gallion moves, Tayor moves, you know, Bernard already moves, of course. And usually the enemy will get a move before P-Sama, because mine is just not fast enough. QB, just make him as fast as possible. Just like Immensity, as fast as possible. Ideally, you want Swift Will, or Despair Will, or something. Despair, I think Despair is the best, my preferred set, but I don't have enough fast Despair runes for him, right? So he's on Swift Endure, not the best, but usually I run him with a speed leader, and that pushes him up to something like 270 speed, and I only use him when I'm not up against, for example, a speed leader Orion, or you know, a Bernard or something like that. So that's why I keep him at this speed. He doesn't really need to be more fast than that. My Poseidon currently is on a weird ass build. Again, I feel he should be Will double shield, alright, because of the nature of his comp. He's on speed, speed, crit damage, and attack. Alright, 1, 3, 5 RS follows. Because of the nature of his team comp, they usually go turn 2, and it's ideal to get as many sets of shield runes out there, as many as possible, right? Mine is on focus because he's on speed, crit damage, attack. There is no accuracy, slot 6, but I do need him to have some accuracy, right? That's why I went focus. But if I could get more accuracy substats, I might switch to shield, because the more shield you have, the better. Annabelle, she's on 25,000 HP, 900 attack, you know, decent defense, average speed. She's on Violent Will, and she's on speed, attack, HP. I feel that I need to give her more speed, more accuracy. Alright, it's just she's a very stat hungry unit. She needs a lot of everything, and with raids these are possible, right? It is possible to reach that stage where she has a lot of everything and she wrecks. She just even right now with these kind of stats, you see her work her magic in arena and guild wars where I use her, right? If she had more of everything, she'd be even more powerful. So she's like a work in progress for me, you know, to give her more stats whenever I can. You know, what I'm looking for most importantly is to get up to 30,000 HP. That's where I feel the minimum is for a sort of like a bruiser. And I want to get up to 200 speed at least, and about more than 50 accuracy. Villajuel currently for me, he's on a violent will, speed, defense sort of build. These are his stats. 73 crit rate, 79 crit damage, because he's not a crit damage slot 4, so he doesn't have a lot of crit damage. But this stats actually does like what, 15k and upwards on the second skill, which is okay. I don't use him as a main nuker, right? Because defense nukers just isn't good. With, you know, how should I put this? Defense nukers that rely on armor break, just not efficient. Why? Okay, because there ain't no defense buffer like Gallion. You understand that? So you need to bring an armor breaker. You need to bring a defense buffer. Then you bring your nuker. What about utility, stripper, healer, etc.? Not enough slots. You understand what I'm saying? That's why Ramahan, you know, that win Inugami with a really nice multiplier, not practical. Not practical at a high level arena. Alright? So I don't use him as a primary nuker. He's just there to follow up sometimes on, you know, after some damage has been done, he can finish off targets when he crits. Chloe, Swift Will. I think this is the best set for Chloe. I don't think that any other set is better. Swift Will is the best, unless you are very confident you're getting turn 1, then maybe you don't need Will rules. Okay? Even my Arnold's on Swift Will. But it doesn't matter. I put him on Swift Will because these were lying around and these had decent, like this one is 28% HP, this one is 25, this one is 28, so it has decent 135 HP. So he does HP based damage from extortion, so I went with this set. Of course, you could go violent, you could go despair. It's all up to personal preference. Personally, I only use him when I want him to kill like a Ciara or something, then I bring him. Jojo, 1.7k attack, he's on Fatal Focus. He could use some upgrades because like his attack substats are pretty shit, right? This one's only 13, this one's only what, 14. Like he could use like another 10% on each. But the thing is, Jojo is a defense type unit. He doesn't have a lot of base attack, so even if you give him like really nice runes, he's not gonna do more than, let's say, Malaka or Taurus. Alright? And he has 57% accuracy. This is because his bombs give him additional 50% accuracy. But as you can see, every time I run Jojo Taurus, who fucks up? Huh? Who fucks up? Jojo. 9 out of 10 times it's Jojo. Like, accuracy, bombs and accuracy is just a mystery. Okay, it's just a mystery. The Oak, these are his stats, 77, 169, could use more crit rate. Alright, could use more crit rate. No point getting that much attack substats. Why? Because he has, for an attack type monster, he only has 680 attack, which is really shit. Right? It'd be better for you to max slot 1, which I should, but I haven't. Okay, so he's on Full Revenge. I like Full Revenge better than Violent Revenge because usually I run Rook with immunity. Okay? And if you proc Violent, you lose the immunity, and immunity is important to protect this guy over here. And yeah, Full Revenge. I don't think, maybe Rage Revenge or even Revenge Focus, they're all pretty okay, but I prefer Full Revenge because more fun. Alright, attack, crit damage, attack. No need to give him more speed unless you're running him with sort of like a non-immunity base, like Vert, Rogue, Lisa, kind of fun team, which has worked for me before. Pretty fun. But now I prefer Full Revenge because he makes epic comebacks with Full Revenge. Beretta doesn't really matter what you give her. Trust me, this Beretta, look at the stats, it's pretty shit. 57 speed only. Huh? It doesn't matter. Just get more than 160 speed. That's all you need for Kyrie Heart. Okay? More than 160 speed. Alright? Get HP wherever you can. Mine is on a weird ass. Yeah, I don't even max the runes, okay? Speed, defense, accuracy. I did the entire Kyrie Heart whenever I use Beretta. Whenever I needed to use Beretta, I just used it and she works. Okay? It doesn't matter. Just get accuracy on her. Personally, again, I go back to the thing. Why not more? Right? More is better. I don't care if it's inefficient. I don't give a shit. If it works for me, it works for me. Okay? So just more than 160 speed is enough for Theory Heart. The rest don't really matter. Right? Try to get more HP. Sometimes you might take a hit or two. Tessarion, tank Tessarion. I've been asked this question so many times. I can't even remember. Tank Tessarion. I don't like the tank Tessarion. Unless you have a spare one. Fine. But most useful as a tank. Minus on Violent Revenge. Because you've seen many times Red Camilla attacks, he revenges, bang! Oblivion. You don't have to waste a turn oblivioning, putting Oblivion on Camilla. Minus on speed, HP. Okay? I don't think there is a better build for, for Tessarion. Tank Tessarion, best Tessarion. Kuma currently has about 47,000 HP. He is on a triple HP build. I switched it up. He was HP, crit damage HP, but I switched it up just so people who ever try to double illusion me, will be in for a big surprise. Violent Will, of course, I don't think there is a better build for any of the monks. Violent Will is the best build. These kind of stats does about, I think, not like 16,000 Trick of Fire, more or less around there. Like if you rune HP, crit damage HP, it can do like 22, 23, 20,000. I've seen maximum on some squishies like Lucian does about 22,000 damage if you rune HP, crit damage HP. Monkey, I don't use my I didn't use my Fire Monkey as a frontliner anymore in raid. He's sort of like a damage dealer, but he's on a speed, crit damage, attack sort of build. And these are his stats, really fast. How much speed is that? 190 speed Monkey, 85, 144. Full stacks does about 40,000 damage on the raid boss if it, when it crits. This Bulldozer stats, 72, 174. Generally, you will be running these Bulldozer coppers with like Immensity or Randy, whatever you choose. So you don't need more than 70% crit rate. Bulldozer is really easy to rune because when he gets 15 crit rate from Awakening, that's like the best. Like speed and crit rate, those are like the best Awakening stats. Like accuracy, fucking resistance, and fuck come to us for coming up with those ideas. Just give crit rate. Everybody loves crit rate. Most people. Or speed for the supports. Right? Don't give fucking resistance or accuracy. Anyway, back to the main point. These stats deal about 17 around there. Okay? So mine is on guard will because I don't want him to be stunned up the first turn when he nukes. I don't want will runes prevents that. So he's on a defense, crit damage, defense kind of build. 1, 3, 5 should have crit rate, crit damage, and defense wherever you can get. These are my Spectra stats. Really shit, but good enough. You see, sometimes you don't have things that you use for, how should I put it, once a month events, TOA. Even farming, right? You don't really need to, I mean, it depends. Like, for me, Spectra is a once a month TOA heart on certain stages. Like, I don't even bother giving him like the best. Like, he's on Violent Blade. I don't give him crit damage, I give him crit rate because it's easier to rune crit rate and give him max crit rate, and still, he does a huge chunk of the boss's HP, right? So, just give him speed, give him crit rate, max crit rate, it's good enough. You don't have to invest too much in a Spectra. Of course, try to get a max skill because you want good cooldown on this one because that's where you're killing the boss. Sekhmet is on this pair will speed HP. She's just there to be, stun things, reset things, armor break things. It's not worth. I tried making her a nuker, not worth. Because why? The base attack matters. Alright? 700 base attack doesn't cut it for me. There's like 30-40,000 on a what's this thing called? Charming Voice. 4 turn cooldown, and the rest of it has pretty shit multipliers. The AoE has a shit multiplier. This one is standard 360. Right? I don't ruin her as a nuker. Just I feel not worth it because then she'll be slow and you can't get her to do what you need her to do. Okay. Raki 93 209. She's on Rage Will, attack, crit damage, attack. These stats pretty much will kill a Perna even if it's on Will runes. Alright, with attack buff, of course. Jemire, He's on he's 22,000 HP. He's on Violent Shield because I usually run him with Katarina and I usually run him against Orion, so shield runes for me is a must to protect Katarina. 87,144. He does about, it doesn't matter about his attack, alright? Look, his defense, crit damage, HP, right? Defense, crit damage, HP. You've seen him on last stream when I did COA Heart. He does like this much damage to the boss HP. That's a lot. Because the multiplier for his Thunder Break is very high. Even higher than Spectra. I think by at least 5%. I'm not entirely sure. But it does more damage than Spectra. So you don't really need attack on him. Just get some crit damage on him and crit rate and just do it. And he can be tanky while doing it. This is my Lucian number 1. We're just going to use this as an example. The other one is pretty much identical. 80, 178. Ideally, you want to give him max crit rate. But not enough crit rate for my rules, okay? He's currently at this speed because it follows up after my Bernard and Megan. If I use Bernard with Lucian, sometimes he gets cut in between. So it really depends. How fast depends on how fast your Bernard is, right? And there are threads on topics on Reddit that talk about speed tuning, so you can go look them up if you want to know how fast should your Nuker be after your Bernard, etc. Just go look them up. Alright, so these kind of stats do the that kind of damage. He's on Fatal Blade. Like I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be Will Runes because these are units that I know are going to get turn 1. If not, I'm not going to use him. Simple as that. This is Ramagos stats at the moment, 40,000 HP. He's on Vampire Nemesis. Why Vampire? You can leech health when you clean shot. Why Nemesis? Because when you bring a Ramagos, you expect him to take damage, and with Nemesis runes helps you to, you know, move faster when you need the turn to clean shot, alright? So ideally you want to go HP, HP, HP. He could use more resistance, of course, from substat. And 135, you kinda, alright, 1 HP on every all the runes on 135. These are my Chasun runes, also Nemesis, Violent Nemesis. I haven't given her like really good runes. Like she's having runes from a millennia ago, and they aren't even maxed because I just use her. I don't use her that often. I use Praha more than I use her. Right, I use Praha more than I use Chasun. I pretty much only use Chasun. You only see Chasun when I use Rope, right? Pretty much I don't. Other than that, I don't really use her much. Not even in TOA. I think Praha is the better option for TOA. But for Chasun, you kind of want as much speed as possible. This is really slow. You want like 200 speed. Every healer, you really want 200 speed. Okay, it's just that I can't afford it for her. Okay, you want 200 speed. You want around like 35 and above HP. The rest, you know, it's a bonus. 200 speed, more than 35,000 HP is what you want for every healer, pretty much. Ground rules. Okay, these are Taurus stats. He's got 2k bonus attack, 67 accuracy. You know, he does like these stats. Alright, he's on attack. Slot 1 and slot 1 doesn't have an attack though. Wow. Slot 5 has 26% attack for his focus rune. These stats do about 27,000 with attack buff. Okay, 27,000. These are my Amir runes. Max crit rate 154, 1.5k attack. He's on Will Blade. Again, he should be on Will Double Shield. Alright, because of the nature of his team that I run him with. You understand that? I explained that in Poseidon, right? So he's on a attack crit damage attack. He's even got a 5-star rune because, like, how often do you see me use this comp? Not often, because there's inherent risk involved because I don't have enough shield buffs. Alright? If I have more shield runes, then this team becomes more and more safe. These kind of stats with Armor Break does about 17 to 19,000 per Mac Crush. Mac Crush hits twice, so that adds up to about 34, 35 to 40,000, depending on the debuffs that are on the target. These are my Katarina runes. She has about 170 speed. No, exactly 170 speed. Okay, she's on Rage Will, attack, crit damage, attack. I think that having speed is a good thing. Alright, it's a good thing that I gave her speed. She could use upgrades. Like this one has no attack. Right? And this one is like a really pretty low attack substat. Right? And this one also pretty low. She could use quite a bit of upgrades. But even then, having such stats, a Caravan has such a powerful unit. Right? Having such stats able to do such damage. You get what I'm saying? If you don't have a Caravan, please fuse one. She's just so useful. Alright? Why Rage Will? Because I'm currently running her with QB. Right? And there's no immunity, so she could get stunned up and shit. So yeah, Rage Will. If you're running her with Chloe, then you don't need Rage Will. Easier to rune Rage Blade, Fatal Blade. They all work. Easier to get your crit rate up that way as well. Copper, 1.6k, 74, 185. Mine is on full guard. You can go Rage Guard, even Guard Will, Rage Will, whatever. It all works. Defense, crit damage, defense. Okay, defense, crit damage, defense. Does about 49 to 50-ish thousand, around there. Good enough to kill something. Rarely does something have more than 50,000 HP. If it has more than 50,000 HP, you already know before you go into the match, right? You roughly know what units could have more than 50k. For example, Iona, Zera, even a Ritesh, right? HP leader. These could have more than 50,000. Then you will have to strategize, you know, differently before you go into the game. Next, Lagmaron. Lagmaron, like, you know, just like Teo, just like Shan. Shan's different, a little bit different. Like, just rune whatever. As in, like, Swift, Fatal, Rage, they all work. Same thing, go for max crit rate first, then go for speed, crit damage, attack, wherever you can get. Alright? The thing about Lagmaron and Shan even, they have really shit base attack. I mean, not really shit, 800 average. Average. But even Lucian is more. You understand? So, it's really not efficient to go Fatal for Shan and Lagmaron. But Teo with really high base attack, you go Fatal, it's okay. Because the Fatal set is a multiplication of the base attack. So, you understand what I'm saying? So it'd be better if, let's say, you go Swift for Lagmaron, or, you know, Rage for Lagmaron or Shan, rather than Fatal. On the other hand, Shan, I feel, should be Violent. Right? I just don't have... Because he's so hungry for stats. Firstly, right, you want max crit rate. Alright? Violent will max crit rate. Because he's not gonna get turn 1. 95 speed. You're not gonna get turn 1. Right? Even if you give him like super good speed, you're never getting turn 1. So you want will rune. Right? Max crit rate. You want speed, you want attack, you want crit damage. So many stats that you need for Shan. So it's gonna take a lot of farming in DB10 to make him violent, which I intend to do. Right? He's on currently like speed, crit damage, and attack. Like, I intend to make him like violent will. Right? Ideally 200 speed, max crit rate, 160-ish or more crit damage. That is what I'm looking forward to do. And that will take a lot of raid, like, grinding as well. These are Asher's stats, they haven't changed. I think he's currently on a Blade Revenge, sort of a weird ass build, right? Just because I wanted the crit rate substats from them. Okay, he's on HP, crit damage HP. He's on 100, 191. He always crits because 100, right? He should be on Will Rune. Because why? Werewolves have really shit defense. Look at that. 483 defense. They are really like paper, like a Perna. Worse than a Perna, okay? And the thing is, like, he's really slow as well. Mine is really slow because I don't make him fast. Ideally, you want Violent Will, okay? Violent Will, HP, crit damage, HP, max crit rate, the rest of crit damage. That is what ideally what I want for Asher. But he's not my priority right now. These kind of stats deal about like 8 to 9,000. Alright, 8 to 9,000 per massacre hit. Alright, lastly, Beta. Like, alright, no, before Beta, Jutan. To me, Jutan, I don't give a shit about him. I just give him HP. He's just there. Like, you see, he's got 5 more speed than Asher. He's just there to armor break before Asher, as well as reflex some damage. I don't give a shit about what else he does. Like, it's all bonus. I think he's on some revenge sort of weird ass build. Doesn't matter. Right? Of course, ideally, if you don't have that many options and Asher Jutan is your core, you would want to make them the same. Violent Will. Those are the best builds. Okay, HP, crit damage, HP. For Jutan, you might want to go HP, HP, HP instead. Better, mine is on Violent Will, Speed, HP, Speed, HP, and HP. Yeah, I don't think there's any other build for this guy. Maybe you could argue going some more crit rate on her. She can do decent damage with Mana Bubble, but I don't really give a shit about Mana Bubble. I really don't, because like it's the default attack. What I want her in my lineup is for Serenity and Grunt Life. Like, this one strips. That's really all I need her for. I mean, of course, if you can get more crit rate, you know, some damage, can't say no to that, right? Damage is like money, you can't have too much of it, right? So anyway, we've come to the end of it. Holy shit, my throat is dry. Why don't we do a little summon session today and test our luck? So I bought a premium pack. We have 12 scrolls. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see what's going on today. Looks like our luck hasn't changed much from the last stream. Shitty pulls. Shit. Like, my guildie was just complaining. He went 13 summons, no lightning. I think I am following closely in his footsteps. Am I not? Oh, I should have taken the hint. Like, someone already took the bullet for me. He's like, look at the... Okay, last one, lightning. 12 and lightning. Good! Food for better! I was wondering, you know, will I ever be able to skill up better? I don't want to use Devil Bonds for better. I'm happy about this net 4, repeat net 4 that I have. I guess today's not such a bad day after all, you know? We just looked at better. Hey! Is this key? Is this fucking key? We last checked out the runes of better. Please, Serenity, Serenity, Serenity! He doesn't need skill ups anymore. Is this key? Right? Remember we just checked out. What if I went like Verat? I was like, look at Verat. And like, oh, let's do some summons after that. Would we get Zyros? Why don't you guys test that out and let me know? Huh? Test that out and let me know. Before we end today's video, I have a couple of wings, so I'm gonna test out my auto comm. Alright, I've got Verat now on Violent, because hopefully he would perform better on defense. I tried him on defense on reset, didn't work out. Maybe on Guild Wars he's better. So I'm gonna test him out here on Violent to see if he works out well on Violent. He will do less damage noticeably. Don't you just hate this? Like I never believe, okay? I don't believe any of the Theomars out there are rune accuracy. Okay, I do not believe that. And always they manage to armor break my Praha. Always, you know, just like the Bond joke, always. So far we have Verat on Violent, but from what I've noticed, okay, this may be just me being paranoid or whatever, or you know, selective, what do you call selective memory. But I feel that this fucker doesn't proc at all. I always go back to check, you know. Is he really on Violent? Because his proc rate is shit. You know? For those of you with Verat, have you noticed that his proc rate is pretty shit if he's on Violent? I'm contemplating, you know, putting him on Despair or something. Because his proc rate is really shit. We're gonna test out in the next couple of weeks and see if that is true. What's this? Oh, Camila though. Are we gonna kill Camila? I don't think we're gonna be able to kill Camila with what we have. But fuck it. Anyway, I just want to... Camila is good because I can see if Verat actually procs Violent at all. Good chance for me to observe us. Also, what, you know, what? Look at that. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? My Praha. What is the point of ruining resistance on Praha, you know? Well, I guess oh, there's the Violent. But I guess the one good thing about Verat, okay, is that he seems, okay, on turn 1, alright, he seems to prioritize using Absolute Zero. Now, if that's the case, wouldn't it be better to say put him on despair? Or even sort of like a rage build or whatever? Than violence, since he already prioritizes those skills. You get what I'm saying? Is there a need to make him violent? The reason I went violence was because I felt that, you know, Verat might not prioritize absolute zero. But it looks as if he does prioritize absolute zero on turn 1. However, oh my god, we're gonna lose Kumar. However, he doesn't seem to proc a lot of violence, huh? Not that much. As compared to other units, like for example, Camila, Theomars, Beast Monks, huh? I mean, sure, there's always people that are gonna say, you know, maybe this is just selective memory, but I'm sure there are also people that will agree with me that certain units just seem, alright, not just seem is too weak a word. Certain units just naturally proc more. Right? We can agree that Veramos and Theomars, they just proc more, right? So far it seems to be working okay, this auto team that I have. I don't use it that much. Like only when I don't want a manual, then of course I use auto when I have a lot of time because it's a really slow team. I don't have all day to do arena, right? Because it's a really slow team. Like when you do arena, you generally want to do it as fast as. Let's see if Verat does absolute zero. If he ever gets to move. This Orion went so many times already. Huh? Yes, he does absolute zero again. You see, so he prioritizes absolute zero. So do I need him on Violet? Should I put him on Despair instead? In case the freeze gets resisted, you see? And then he does freeze next. Huh? You notice that, huh? He does these. Really nice. The AI, pretty okay for Verat. Maybe I don't need him on Violent after all. Of course, on Violent, he gets a chance, right? To reduce the cooldown of absolute zero every time he procs. That is nice. But usually, you know, the game is sort of over after the first absolute zero. It is decided whether I win or lose, usually after the first absolute zero. And oh my god! This Orion is so fucking obnoxious, isn't he? Just going and going and going. Orion's just like Anivals, just like Occult Girls. They reset their violent procs every time they get the natural violent proc from the default skill, and that's why they seem to proc more, right? Just like Occult Girls and what else? What else you got? No, actually just Occult Girls and Orion. But Theomars and Veramos, they don't get like, you know, additional turn from their default skill yet. Anyway, we're gonna stop here for today. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.